Hello, everyone, and welcome to Arts in Action, brought to you by Californians for the Arts to give you all the 411 that you need for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in April. So we will just allow people to enter the space. Thank you for carving out the time today on our Friday to get prepared for a really important month for us in April. So we'll take this time and let people just enter the space. Feel free to say hello in the chat or anywhere that you would like. Welcome everyone to Californians for the Arts, Arts in Action webinar. We'll get started shortly. We'll get just another minute for people to enter the space. Thank you. I think we'll go ahead and get started. We want to start with some introductions. I am Matt Carney, the Programs Manager for Californians for the Arts, working closely with the entire staff, and a lot of you all, I'm sure, know Julie Baker, our Executive Director, and happy to provide clear programs from Californians for the Arts, including what we've just finished is a series of 9 regional conversations. We have monthly webinars, plus our e-newsletter that goes out to our entire list. And we are providing you the entire month of April with fun things to interact with. And really want to thank you for being here today. And I'll pass the mic over to my co-partner here for this webinar.
Thank you, Matt, for that lovely pass off. My name is Jade Alicia Rivera, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs. And I am Program Associate at Californians for the Arts. I have been with the organization since the start of the pandemic, all the way in February 2020, and been through all of the tumultuous happenings in the field of advocacy during a global mental health, public health, and financial crisis. So I'm happy to support all of you today.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to start off with a land acknowledgement. Jade Alicia is going to lead us through her statement, where she will lead us through their statement. So we can always follow suit in the chat.
Thank you, Matt. And though our organization is a virtual organization, I will do my land acknowledgement based on the Indigenous lands that I stand on. And though we're in the virtual environment, we would like to acknowledge the land that I reside on is the original homelands of the Ohlone peoples. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this territory, and we honor and respect our ancestors, elders, and the many diverse Indigenous peoples that are still connected to this land. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, and colonialism that bring us together here today. In just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and put a resource in the chat for you to find more information on the local Indigenous territories and languages for the lands that you reside on. Please feel free in the chat to share a land acknowledgement with the group.
Thank you very much for that. And go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Thank you so much for being here today. We are going to do just an overview of what is going on for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. I don't think we're going to go for that full time as originally scheduled for this webinar, because we want to give you the information, answer any questions, and then this webinar will be a resource for you to look back on, or for others that are joining us after this is recorded and posted. So Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month will be coming up right around the corner next month. We have month-long activities where we'll be promoting different arts and culture events throughout the month. We'll have a very targeted advocacy week, April 19th through the 23rd, where I'll speak to you a little bit more later about that. And then we'll be celebrating at the very end of the month a full day activity of our virtual convening on the 27th. So what is Arts and Culture and Creativity Month, and why is it important? You know, this is really our month where we can recognize, celebrate, and advocate for significant impact in California. Here, what we're looking at today is our media toolkit that you can share as part of our statewide campaign, but it's also something that you can use for the local activities that you're doing. And that way you can have the resources, these graphics, and these hashtags that we can use so we can make sure that the things that you're doing on a local level are showing that it's part of something larger. So when we're talking about our statewide advocacy, this is also helping with your local advocacy on the city level and the county level for the things that you're doing. And this is an entire toolkit that you can use. So you can go to our website, it's under ACCM. And so right here is an example where all these images are just a click easy download once you get access to the toolkit. So ACCM was started a few years ago and is recognized by the California Senate as April as the month for arts, culture, and creativity. The reason this is important is that it really fits into the state budget cycle and a lot of the budget cycles that happen on the local city and county level. So this is the time where we can unify our voice, clarify the ask that we are planning to go to the elected officials and advocate for, and really make some noise in bringing all of our common areas together so that we have a unified voice moving forward. Now, you may already be an advocate, but this is a way that through this downloadable toolkit and these logos that you can download to make sure that people that are in your networks know that you're a supporter, where you can put this on your website or your different social media platforms to inform people of the month and really try to make the overall canvas look like we are unified for the arts. So the month will be broken down, as I said, in a couple different ways. We will be focusing all of our direct advocacy to the electeds on the state level on April 19th to the 23rd. So during Advocacy Week, in the past, 2 years ago, we were on the steps of the Capitol. We went to different offices, and this is your time to really speak to your local electeds in your area. So we will ask you to go to our website and sign up to be a delegate for the Advocacy Week. We're working with our board of directors and some other key leaders in the state to be team captains of your region. So once you sign up to be a delegate, and we'll go over the website in a little bit, once you sign up to be a delegate, you will then be assigned a team captain for your specific region. During that week, we will also be doing a letter writing campaign to make sure that all of our key asks and key legislative request will be clear. So look out for that action alert coming that week. And then the month will culminate in our virtual convening. So this is a jam-packed full day virtual conference and is completely free. So it's really important for us, and we really thank our members that enable our programs to be free. We want to make sure that everyone has access to this. So we'll go over the specific, you'll be the first group to really know the specific details of the convening. And this will be professional development, networking, and also an opportunity to hear from key leaders in the field on various topics that we have identified as a need right now. So this is kind of where we'll just go through the toolkit here, and we want to make sure that we're answering any questions that you have. So at any time, please raise your hand or put in the chat, and Jade, Alicia will let me know to take a moment and hear your voice. So if you have any questions along the way, please ask. So this toolkit is a way that you can really utilize what you're already doing and utilize this toolkit to really amplify the voice, specifically in April, for the importance of arts, culture, and creativity. So this is just it's kind of our stamp that you could put on your website, or you could write a blog, or any of your calendar of events to make sure that this website is attached to anything that you may be doing in the month of April. And there's different ways that you can support. And like I'm saying again, it's supporting the statewide effort, but it's also amplifying what you're already doing. So we won't have too many printed materials, but any online materials you can download and use some of these logos. And then if you're also hosting virtual events, to make sure that you're part of this statewide campaign. All the information and even some text and verbiage is available here for your newsletter, that you can make sure that you have new updated graphics. And we have to make sure that our action alerts are going to even a more full list. I think a good example of the efforts for the shuttered venues on the federal level, that really came from several organizations unifying their list, and not only us arts advocates and administrators talking to electives, but motivating our patrons, motivating our ticket buyers to also take what we're having, take these legislative requests that we have, and making sure that our constituents, our patrons, our audience members are also speaking directly to electeds. And these tools will help you do that. So on all your socials, we have these hashtags that are available for you. And this is something that you can do yourself or give to your social media coordinator, where we have specific posts for specific weeks throughout the month of April that you can already start lining up all that. Because I know sometimes we wake up in the morning and think, what am I going to post today? So this way we kind of save some of that thought and make sure that, again, our message on the statewide level is all together and coordinated. We also think it's really important that we're speaking to our local media outlets. So scheduling this content that you're involved in a statewide effort on your local level is definitely material that could be possible for you to get an interview or write an op-ed and speak to your local media. Another thing to get recognized, this has happened on several cities across the state, is that you could really work with your elected officials to get a proclamation in your city or county for April as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. I think when we think about advocacy, oftentimes we wear a suit and we go into an office and ask for money, and that can be sort of daunting at times. So when you're asking for a proclamation or asking for a letter of support, this is a way that you can make a contact with electeds, and they're usually really responsive in this way because they want good things to be happening in their districts. I'll just breeze over some of the talking points that we have. Again, this is lined up for every week. We're really rallying around arts as second responders, and knowing that the first responders are really the ones recognized as the essential workers. But through the pandemic, we're learning that arts are essential, and we are here to really make sure that the arts are front and center, that we're not the extra cherry on top, but we're in the fabric of all that we do. Then, a lot that we're connecting to the arts is bring belonging and healing with things that are going on, and connecting with other disciplines we're seeing, you know, art as a benefit to public health, for mental health. And this is a way that we can really uplift those intersections through this campaign. And going back to the point of, you know, now more than ever, the arts are essential, driving meaning to our experiences, and to make sure that everyone has access to use art as not just a way for entertaining, but also a way for catharsis. So you can see this is a downloadable link, and then it also has specific text that you can add to make it really easy to make sure, again, our statewide voice is unified. Moving on to, you know, the economy. And I think we're getting out of relief mode and heading into recovery mode, so we can use some of the statistics that we have to really push the message forward. If you need more statistics, please visit our website. We have a whole survey that we've completed. There's 2 different surveys for organizations and also cultural workers. And then there's one that sort of brings all the data together that's so useful. I know with different interviews or speaking to your board of directors or whatever your level of supervisor may be, these data points can be so helpful in really stating the case. So please look deeper into that. And when we think about racial equity in the arts, this is also so important right now and just a big part of what we do. The arts have been forefront and center of any large social movement. And this is the time to realize this is not just a statement that we're making, but it's the lens that we're looking through in all that we do. That we as arts leaders and arts organizations have a responsibility to make sure that there's racial equity in the arts. So matching along with the other weeks, this really is part of the overall campaign and also leading into our convening. And what we're finding too is that we need to be building the core of young advocates. So we're making sure that we're empowering youth voices. We'll go over how we're doing that during the convening portion, but we just need to make sure that we're thinking about arts education, but also how can the art that the youth are already creating on different social media platforms, how can that be a form of advocacy? And this is where we want to make sure that we're giving power, we're giving voice to the youth to make sure that they can feel heard. All right. I just want to take a moment to see if anyone has any questions. Well, we're going to go over now our main legislative request. So this is going to be coming out in a shareable format where you can make sure that when we're going to the point during Advocacy Week and going into the elected offices that we're all asking for the same thing. But up until this point, I'll go over our website in a moment, but up until this point, does anyone have any questions? Either in a raised hand or in the chat? And it's okay if not, I'll keep jamming. Jade, Alicia, do you see any questions?
I do not see any questions at this time.
Great. Well, we'll keep on going to that. We'll make sure you get the link to the toolkit, and all this is easily downloadable. So much going on. I want to just thank all of our community partners, our board of directors, and all of you being here today and at our different webinars, that the unifying of our voice coming together is really what's making these changes. And right now, these are some of the core key things that we're looking at. Would be to increase funding to the state art agency in $14 million, one of the largest increases that we've seen to the California Arts Council, bringing up $1 for every person in California. Senator Allen's office has been working on the Creative Workforce Act. It basically puts into law and supports the Creative Core pilot program that introduced by the governor for this. This is using artists in helping with infrastructure, using artists in a way that we can get their skills and expertise in both private and public projects throughout the state. So we'll really be pushing for that. Rubio's office is continuing this work to create more exemptions for AB5. I know many of us have been affected by this to make sure that, you know, I think Rubio originally put through exemptions for journalists and writers. Now we're looking to see what exemptions can be put in for smaller budget organizations. So that's something else that's going forward. And then making sure that through Ramos' office that that there's a little bit more COVID relief happening for small businesses and for including nonprofit organizations. There's a really big ask. We also have this letter on our website. And this is, again, where you can utilize this entire toolkit and use that to amplify your message on the local level. So there's a lot of the stimulus money coming from the federal side of things. I think there's $16 billion going to local governments. And this is where you can utilize a letter that we have on our website. And we suggest sending that letter from the statewide organization, but also adding in a letter from you as your local organization or your whatever group you might be representing. So you can kind of do a double whammy with your local letter plus the statewide letter to make sure that these stimulus funds that are going, and they're calling this once in a generation funding. And, you know, using to recommend to your city council and to your board of supervisors to make sure some of that money that's coming through to the local arts agencies or the local governments are going to the arts agencies, that making sure that there is earmarked funds from these stimulus monies going to the arts. So we have the letter live on our website. I'm sure Jade, Alicia is sharing that in the chat. And that's something that you can tailor really specifically for your needs. And so that's something that we'll be doing, that letter writing campaign ourselves on the state level. And but that you can utilize this to make sure that you can get that money going to your local level. And then this is just other, making sure that we're supporting unemployment assistance, that, you know, that we know that the majority of artists compared to other different sectors are self-employed. So some of that standard unemployment insurance doesn't really work out for our sector. So we're going to continue for some updates in that. We're working with our friends over at Create California to make sure that we're still pushing forward in arts education, to make sure that arts are fully funded and that the teachers feel safe and the students feel safe, to make sure that this instruction happens. We know that some schools have gone back, some schools aren't starting until next fall. So we're just making sure that, you know, everyone feels safe and that we can get the students into the classrooms safely, and that, you know, that we're able to provide that arts education. So questions to do right now are please, please, please sign up and share the sign up list to be a delegate for Advocacy Week. This is so important, where we have our team captains will work with you to guide the message and going that way. But it's so great to have local delegates in the meetings as well, so that the electeds know what is the art happening in their districts. Download this toolkit. This is the actual toolkit. And so to make sure that you're tagging your local officials in this, to make sure that you're being part of a statewide campaign, but like I said, just as much amplifying the work that you're doing. I'll go through the website here in a moment, but we want to make sure that you're signing up for the convening sessions. It is completely free, so but you do have to register for each different session. And if you are a member, thank you. If not, we would ask you to consider membership with CFTA, and so we can continue our free programming like this. Just want to pause again for any questions or anything to share as before we go over the website? Jade, Alicia, do you see me missing anything? I'm sure you've heard all of this before.
I think something that might be really interesting, especially as programs manager, to speak to all of the stellar presenters that we have for our convening.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead and go over the specific convening. Let's see, can you sign up as a delegate for specific days of the whole week? So there's a question in the chat. Can you sign up as a delegate for a specific day or for the whole week? It's kind of both, and choose your own adventure. So you'll sign up to be a delegate, and because it's virtual, we don't exactly know when the meetings are going to happen. 2 years ago, when we were on Capitol Hill, we were there at the offices. There was one day and we did all the meetings in one day. So the reason we're calling it Advocacy Week is that we have to be realistic on where we can schedule appointments. So you're not going to have to be available the whole week, but once you identify the area that you live and that you care about, those specific districts, whenever those meetings are going to go, and depending on where you're living, you know, you think about LA, San Diego, San Francisco, there's a lot of different legislators there, but in rural counties, rural areas, there's going to be fewer. So all the meetings will happen within that week, but it's not going to be all day or whatever. These type of meetings can be 15 minutes, a half hour, so just little chunks of time. So team captains now are busy doing the scheduling with the electeds at this moment. And so as far as some of the presenters that we have, I know we're going to be kicking off the entire convening with remarks from Mayor Todd Gloria in San Diego. He was a legislator, a California legislator. He was also in the city county, and then he was working in Susan Davis's office, which is a federal senator. So he has this great perspective and things like that to really kick off that day. And so now I'm going to transition looking over to our website just to make sure we can navigate that and feel safe with that. So here we go. If you go to our website, you can go to our events page, and then you'll see that we have Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. So that's where we're at right here. And then we have 3 buttons for you to sign up and take some action on as soon as it gets back there. All right, so right here is where you can easily download the toolkit. It goes to a new tab and you can download it there, or you can just download the images once it's right there. Then you can go right here to register for Advocacy Week. We really ask that you do this by the 29th of next week, which is coming up very shortly. Happy Friday, everyone. And please share that with your network. So we already have more than 100 delegates signed up, but we want so much representation here. So we really ask that you share that. You can always email me directly, and Jade, Alicia, if you could put that in the chat. If you're interested in being a team captain, if you've had some experience in making appointments with legislators, going through an advocacy ask, and obviously we'll provide you all the tools. You can always email me directly because we may have different areas where we'll need more team captains. So email me directly. And then right here is the virtual conference. You're going to be hearing a lot about this as the month progresses. But just want to read a little bit on things that we have lined up there. So we will start the day with sunrise yoga with a San Diego-based artistic director of Disco Riot, a dance company, motivated and doing the work of social justice. So she'll be starting our day with some self-care because it's hard to be an advocate when we're not taking care of ourselves. So that's how we're starting. And then we'll go into shifting from a campaign to a movement. This will be the main session that will start with. This will be led by our Executive Director, Julie Baker, has an amazing lineup of different presenters, including Todd Gloria will share remarks. Where we're thinking about an advocacy campaign, but really how can we shape this to be a movement? So that's really the theme. She'll start us off with some national level and statewide leaders. And then we go into breakout sections. So we'll have 2 sessions and you have to choose, and if not, you have to click back and look at the recording. And one will be a youth empowerment panel. We have nominated 4 youth leaders in the state area that we are giving them complete agency to create their own session here to make sure that their voices are heard and that they have the opportunity to say, what do they want to teach us more, people that have been around for a little bit, to see what they think we should know. So we're really having a moment to hear the youth. And then we'll be shifting into a really wonderful session talking about the intersections of art and economic development, art and health, art and community organizing, bringing leaders together where, again, like we're saying, it's not necessarily art for art's sake, but how can we work with the county level? How can we work with different organizations to do what we do as artists, but also be able to move the needle forward on other social issues? We'll head into a brown bag lunch with the Executive Director, Julie Baker. She is also very accessible. I think Jade, Alicia can put that in the chat as well. If you ever need time to discuss an issue or discuss a platform you're thinking about, Julie is always available, so you can email her directly, but this will be a nice time to just sit and have a casual chat in a sort of a meeting format. And then we go back to one of those, you have to make your choices. So we have one option I'll let Jade Alicia talk about, she's leading that. And then the other option will be Arts as Essential Workers. These are led by Gustavo Herrera down at Arts for LA, leading a wonderful session here to make sure that we're creating not just artists, but the creative sector, a creative workforce. Jade, Alicia, would you like to talk a little bit about Speaking Truth to Power?
Yeah, so the session that I'm leading is called Speaking Truth to Power, Bending Towards Justice in the Creative Industries. And this session is a Black, Indigenous, and person of color developed and led discussion on the topics of the potential for arts leadership to deepen equity and anti-racism work, as well as how we might disrupt behaviors and practices that support injustice. Some of our featured presenters are Quanese Floyd, founder and director of Arts Administrators of Color Network, and Aylan Holt, who is director of Diversity Leadership at Stanford University.
Wonderful leadership, can't wait to attend all of these and that session. And then we're gonna get all back together to do more of a workshop here for the art of advocacy, really demystifying what we do. How can we be advocates by using the tools in our own tool belt? So you don't have to dress up and say a fancy speech. How can you use your art for advocacy? So we'll be working with a leader in San Jose and our board member, Ron Muriera, to produce half of it will be an informational how to create an advocacy campaign using your own art. So through this session, we'll finish with having a tangible takeaway about something that you can implement. And then we'll hear from Keisha Dumas, who's at the African American Museum of Art in Los Angeles. She will share her experience in presenting at a legislative hearing, and she did it through the use of poetry. So we'll hear her perspective and share that with you. And we'll also be working with Fabiana Rodriguez, who's a leader in the Bay Area, using muraling and poster art to really create social change. The keynote and performance. We will report back and just have you wait for that one, which we're really excited to be able to bring us all together there at the end. And I do want to acknowledge the sponsors for the event. We have Arts for LA, the City of Sacramento, the Claire Rose Foundation, and an individual patron to make that all possible. So that is Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. It's really taking this specific time in the budget process for the state and also with your local governments to organize, make some noise, and have common requests so that we know from the local level to the state level, we have a similar message. And now if there are any questions, that is about all we have to formally present to you today. But please let me know if there's any questions for anyone that's here today. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for carving out the time to be here with us today to hear about arts, culture, and creativity. It is just as much for you as it is for us. So thank you for taking that toolkit, sharing it with your message, tagging your local officials, and at the end of the day, we will be all moving forward together. Jade, Alicia, do you have any final words or thoughts?
I do. And then actually, this is a wise word of wisdom for our board president, Victoria Hamilton. She speaks to the value of collective advocacy when she says, to be an effective arts advocate, we need to speak with one voice. And that is what ACCM is all about.
I feel like I can't say anything after that. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for everyone for being here today. And please, we are just an email away. That's all been in the chat. Go to our website. We are here for you. We are here for arts and culture on the statewide level. Thank you so much for being here. I do see a question from Patricia Fisher.
I think Julie would probably want us to send it to her. So I'll go ahead and put for you, Patricia, Julie's contact info. Or do you want it, Matt?
Yeah, no, go ahead and send it over to us. I know Patricia, she's a San Diego. Hi. So yeah, just send it over to us. We'll be very happy to see what you're sharing. Thank you.